Hello, guys. It is another Thursday night, and we are here. Tonight is going to be a really fun one, guys. So, I have a guest coming on. He is my buddy. MetalFrog is his handle online, and we're going to kind of go into a little bit about that. And he's not here yet. So, that gives me an opportunity to give you guys a little bit of instructions. So, we have a live chat here or a comment or the comment section down below. What I'd like you to do is, if you're here, say hello in the live chat or leave a comment. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to interact with you. Another thing is hit like on this video. It really helps these videos get out to more people on YouTube. We are swiftly approaching the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I don't want to go too far into that right now. But if you like food, subscribe. I've been really grinding at doing recipes, dining reviews. Got a lot going on here in the channel, guys. Got some big things coming. I want to tell you about some of the videos I filmed last week after we talked to MetalFrog here, maybe even during. It'll be kind of a fun little interactive session. If you are here, leave a comment. I'll put some stuff up on the screen in just a second. If you are joining in the replay, thank you so much for joining. And couple things in the description. I have some of my recipe ebooks. There's a lot of ways you could support the channel here. I have some merchandise on Teespring, and those are all linked down in the description. If you're live, don't click now, click on it after. Also, if you'll get the greatest burger cookbook ever if you sign up for my email. And that's basically all the sales pitches I got for you. Any little bit you could do to help the channel will be very much appreciated. And we are still without MetalFrog. So what I will do is tell you a little bit about Keith, MetalFrog, and about how we came to know each other and what he's done for me. But first, let's take a look in the live chat. We got Dom, time to MetalFrog it up. Yeah, let's see. We'll see when it's time. Got cousin Pat, bring back the Jersey Shore mock reviews. Guess what? I actually recently started watching Jersey Shore Family Vacation because I got YouTube TV, and I am loving it. It's ridiculous. Perfect. All right. So Keith is a good buddy of mine. We met about 12 years ago, actually on the same night that I met my wife, Cassie. It's really funny that happened that way. But I want to talk to Keith about that specifically. What I did was in 2010, I started a blog. Now, I had blogged before. Back in the day, when Blogger was a thing, I wanted to just basically do what I saw everybody else doing on the internet. And I started a blog. It was called Nerrysoft, and it kind of took off. I had some followers in Canada, and we were following each other back, and it was a lot of fun. And for a lot of reasons, I decided that it had to stop, and didn't really have much of a creative outlet. It was it was just difficult. The 2006 to 2010 time period in my life, I just kind of worked really hard and didn't really do much outside of work other than some video gaming and stuff like that. So I got to know some people through kind of a whole chain of events, basically. So we had these things called the Albany Tweet Ups. We were on Twitter. My handle was derryX, and MetalFrog was another person that was part of the same community. And one night we met, and we really just hit it off. We just had a whole bunch of mutual friends, but we got to talking, and a big thing that was happening at the time was that the Times Union had blogs. So the Times Union is a local newspaper here. And it was really funny because at the time they were just handing them out to just about anybody. So I kind of went the independent route and was like, all right, let me start a WordPress blog. And Keith really liked it at the beginning and kind of offered to help me out with some of the web design. And here is actually my buddy Keith. He's coming right on. He was actually right on time at 7:30. Keith, how you doing?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Very good. So I was just getting into the whole story about how in 2010 I decided to get into the blog, and right around that time was when you kind of reached out to me, and we kind of worked together, and you basically designed my WordPress blog, and we took it from WordPress.org or whatever it was to WordPress.com, and you did the whole web design for that. So
Yeah, other way around. .com is like the free version, kind of like the old like GeoCities days where you could build like a page for free. So WordPress has the WordPress.com where you can do a blog for free, but you can't customize everything, right? So like, you can't do a custom URL, you can't do a lot of the custom themes and integrations and stuff that we wanted to do. So since I was doing web design at the time, I had a server set up. Said, hey, why don't I just host one of your? I'll host a blog for you, and then we'll get it all set up. So I mean, we just started with a clone, right? Like we just started with what you already had and brought it over on our own, and then it just kind of grew from there. And your notoriety, that just took off, man. It skyrocketed. And then, we had to put more effort and time into making quality graphics and updates to the site to match your persona.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Is for me, that was a significant time because I was just saying that the Times Union was giving blogs to just about anybody. So we wanted to go the independent route. And I think because of the content, and I also think that the graphics was one of the things that made it stand out, because there was nobody doing that in this area where, I had a logo that I had initially designed, and then you kind of helped to redesign it and clean it up a little bit for me.
Yeah, so
And
we could resize it for every application that you wanted, right? Because we did some print stuff. We did buttons and stickers and everything. You
memes.
can name it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was actually pretty significant, like portion of my life, because like I would say from 2010 to 2015, it was going kind of strong. I had my cousin Pat do a comment here at the Jersey Shore mock reviews, and those, like I mentioned in a recent interview, those were really big for the blog. I mean, I would on a dining post get like I don't remember the numbers. It varied from time to time, but I would get like 20 times the traffic on those Jersey Shore reviews, which was ridiculous. It was like,
I don't know. And you weren't even like taking it quote unquote seriously either. You were just mocking the hell out of it all the way through, weren't you?
yeah, I mean, it was basically just me jabbing at the fact that I'm very familiar with that archetype of a character just from my background. Just
Right.
I
Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't want to
Yeah.
say cousins specifically, but like there was a lot of people in my family that kind of had that
Yeah.
kind of background. But the thing about it was that that was really kind of cool, because I'm just some dude, and it just kind of always always like watching what you've prepared for the blog. And I actually have some examples here that I'll pull up on the screen, and we can talk about them a little
Oh
bit.
shit, going down memory lane. Look at this.
Yes, sir. I pulled up a bunch of stuff. I was going to catch you up before, but this right here is actually the website redesign that
It actually still looks pretty good. I mean, one of the things that we did when we did this one is we kind of future proofed it a little bit, right? Like we were checking the trends, seeing what was going to be kind of quote unquote classic design for the next 10 years, and just do it once, do it right, and just keep it alive.
yeah, I mean, we might have to change out some of these pictures, but definitely like really cool like design. And you could see now it kind of just houses my YouTube thumbnail videos and stuff like that, which is still cool. I like doing that, but the entire back catalog is there if you ever want to read it. But the really cool thing was one day we got together, and it was specifically for a design session, I remember. And we basically just, I think 20 minutes into it,
I
just
mean,
decided to talk
I mean,
about
it
the
was
chef that's on.
literally we
What
just
was that?
put in clip art chef, and the first image that came up without any restrictions on how to use it was this guy.
Yep.
But we had to add a beard to him to make him even more authentic, because the original clip art was just like a little stash, right? The little Guido stash from like the 70s, like the two little lines coming off the top lip.
Great. But the funny thing was when you Google searched it, there was something like that, like where somebody had just scribbled on it and scanned it or something.
Right. Yeah.
And we just thought that was the funniest thing ever. And that became like this whole thing. Now, I don't know if you remember, but this was like there was like a whole campaign around like 2012, 2013,
There was.
where they were trying to replace the heart in I Love New York. And I had
I
submitted
Heart
this.
New York. It was a whole campaign where you could upload custom designs. People would vote on it, and the winner got like T-shirts made or something like that. I can't remember what the prize was, but
Yeah, I mean,
we
there wasn't any
tried.
longevity to it because I
No,
haven't seen anything other than the heart now. But I had submitted it as a design and they took it down.
because it was too close to the original, right?
I mean, maybe, or it just like I basically just put the clip art chef, so maybe the chef is copyright or something. I don't know, but that was kind of a fun time. But I wanted to talk about the night we first met. Do you remember that night?
I do. It was one of the first tweet ups that I went to. Was it the first tweet up that you attended to?
It was the first tweet up. Do you remember where it was?
It was in Latham Farms, right? There was like the hell's that guy's name? Was it Carmine?
Yep.
Chef Carmine? He had
So
like a little pizza, like a flatbread pizza thing, right?
yeah, I don't remember the food at all that night. But the really funny thing about it is, first of all, that's the night I also first met Cassie,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
also kind of
Two
cool.
two big people in your life that same night. Look at that.
Yeah, it was a significant night. But the funny thing is, so I lived in Latham, and they were doing the tweet ups, and Cassie was the one organizing a lot of them, and that one was significant because number one, I had never gone to a tweet up, so this was
Yeah, me,
2009.
yeah, me neither. I think we were just kind of like talking back and forth on Twitter. Like we haven't even met.
Yep. Well, because of John Jordan,
That's right. Yeah.
our mutual friend,
Yeah.
who basically he used Twitter as like SMS messaging. Um, I got Dom here with the pump station. We'll get to the pump station. The pump station was the next time. But with that night, so that night, Carmine was a local chef here who he had a television show in like the
It's like
2006
public
time.
access or something, right?
Yeah, it was on Fox 23. And I watched it religiously. I loved it just because I love that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I love seeing, people, yeah, like, anything on television, I just eat it up.
Yeah.
But that was the first night that he was a chef there.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what it was called, maybe Vinsanto or something like that. It
It
went
had
through a
a
bunch of
name
names.
like that. Yeah, it was two Italian words that didn't match what was going on inside at all.
Yeah. So it's funny because like the next day, that was like a Saturday night or a Friday night. The early the next week, Steve Barnes on the table hopping blog said that as of Saturday, Carmine was out as the chef. So we were there the one night
For
that
like
he
the
was the
one
chef
day
at that
he was
restaurant,
there. Yeah. Yeah.
and we met, and that was kind of where it all started. And then the next time there was the pump station where we met up, and my brother Dom was there,
That was
and
huge, man. We had like 25 people there. There were these gigantic tables, like the conference tables. It was like, I don't know, it sat 20 people at this one thing. We had two of them full of people there.
yeah, it was crazy with the burnt nachos. You hit me in the eye with a soda.
I did. Actually, it's one of my favorite pictures of myself because I'm laughing and like it's just like a genuinely like happy picture of me, and it's right as I smack you in the face.
Yeah, I can't find a lot of those pictures. I do have some of them that I actually did pull up here. Let me see if I can bring it onto the screen.
You know, that's one of the things that I had down for a note because the tweet ups were big, man. We were doing that for like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we did it strong for a year, and then it just became
We found a group of people that we liked better than the others. Is what happened.
I think it was just that, like,
No, it was that because remember we broke off from the one, and we went to another place, and they stalked us and walked in, even though we were trying to get away from some people.
that's true.
Because we were somewhere and we were like, let's go to Wolf's. We'll play some arcade games. We'll just hang out, keep it chill, just like a small group. Because we all clicked, and we're like, you know what? Forget all these other people that bring like weird drama and shit into the group. Let's just go do our own thing. And don't you know, at 5 minutes after we get in there into the arcade, don't they all come walking in? So like either they followed us or they just randomly had the same idea. But I think they were following us because we were trendsetters, man.
Oh yeah. Well, so speaking of trendsetters, this picture I have up on
Look
the
at this.
screen here.
And this was something else I wrote a note down. I was going to bring this up too. You make fun of me relentlessly for ordering chicken wings at Kodo. Relentless. 10
Well,
years of my life, every time I got to hear about the chicken wings at a Japanese steakhouse.
the
And then
funny
you
thing is,
go and order chicken wings at a Korean joint.
well, that Korean fried chicken is actually a thing.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Five-star chef guy. All right. Tell me the difference in Asian prepared wings.
Well, okay, so this was a funny thing. They were chicken lollipops. I don't know if you remember. They were actually detached from the bone.
I do remember.
It was funny to me because okay, so that that particular tweet up, Kodo is this local restaurant we have here. It's a
Oh my
Japanese
goodness.
steakhouse, but they really have a section that specializes in sushi. But that was like the sushi tweet up. So you didn't order sushi at all, which is
Well,
fine. It's
I mean,
to me,
you got to
I just
remember,
beat
like
jokes into the ground.
we started doing these tweet ups, man. I was eating mac and cheese and hot dogs 4 out of 5 nights a week. Like I was still a teenager, like not even a teenager, because teenagers eat better than I did. I was like a kindergartner, right? I was like, give me chicken tenders or chicken nuggets and some mac and cheese, and we'll call it a day. And I just wanted to hang out with people because I was having fun going to these things. And we go to a friggin' Japanese steakhouse. I've never seen sushi. I have no idea what's going on. And I'm looking at this menu and I'm like, all right, I have no idea what any of this means. Chicken wings. Let me order that.
And that's why and that's why it was always fun because I could take these digs at you and you got it like you didn't take it offensively as you are right now at least.
Yeah. Well, no, and then like these, I think that was the first time I ever ate chicken with bone in it.
Oh,
Like my entire life was processed chicken, man. I'm telling you, you take the nuggets out of the freezer, put them in the oven. 10 minutes later, you got nuggets. That was my eating.
the dinosaur shaped nuggets.
Yeah. Sometimes, right? Because they're there. You gotta.
So that kind of like it kind of spiraled from there, and we did a lot of stuff, and the blog was a big portion of that. Really,
Sure, it was. Because
there was one at one point. I'm trying to pull it up here. Let me just get back
All
into
right.
that other window.
Sorry, I'm trying to take over the show. I'm telling you how to run your show. I'm
No,
sorry.
go
My
ahead. I
fault.
mean, if there's anything you want to pull up, I think you could share your screen too.
Well,
Um,
I just remember early on, one of the things we connected on was like search engine optimization was kind of changing as we started to talk, right? So before it was called black hat SEO because it was like you look at the spy versus spy, you had the white spy that's a good spy, the black hat that's the bad one. So people were just cramming keywords into every page on their website. And we knew somebody who was doing that on their blog with affiliate links to Amazon, remember? Because that's how they thought they were driving traffic. Every word was a link to something because they
yep.
were trying to get referral traffic back and cheat the system. Well, we knew that SEO was changing and it was going to be organic. So it was going to start being how well your site was made if you followed like normal standards for construction of a website, and then what was actually organically on the page to see if it was authentic to what people were searching for. So we were on that early wave of organic searches. So like your Jersey Shore stuff, like could you imagine trying to start a Jersey Shore blog right now? Like it would not get a single hit.
No.
It wouldn't get a single one because the search is so muddled now, right? Back then, you were doing what you were supposed to, right? You would write it just like a normal paper. You'd have your introduction, your middle paragraphs, your conclusion, and you weren't cramming all that crap in there the search engines were starting to ignore. So your stuff would get bumped up the list, and as more people clicked it, it keeps going.
Yep.
And we're kind of back the other way now where the organic stuff isn't enough because the algorithms are so finely tuned to keep people where they're comfortable that new content is never going to break through anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing right now is I'm like struggling is just getting up past that hump to get into people's suggestions, and that it's almost like it's a game. Like you have to know what keywords to say within the videos,
Right.
and then we talked
Yeah,
about this last
yeah, we
weekend.
were talking about that when we went to Gus's last week. Like, it transcribes your spoken word, and then it goes through the script and looks for keywords.
Yep.
It's nuts, man. Like that stuff blows my mind, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly, like you're saying all this black hat stuff, like this is all back end stuff that at the time I had no idea. So
Right?
like,
No, and it was fun because it was a learning process for me too, because it was all changing right then and there. So like as I was learning it, I was teaching you and kind of reaffirming what I was getting in my head, and we just kind of took off from there.
It was a cool time, and getting back to the graphical part of it,
Oh
there
man,
was one
I used
time
to have
where
so much fun, dude. You would just be texting me back and forth, and I would just pick up on something to just make an image because I thought it sounded funny to me,
yeah,
and I'd send it back to you. Then the next day, it's a blog post. I loved it.
yeah, and the funny thing is, the one time we
April
totally
Fools,
redesigned.
yes.
This was an April Fool's joke, so this is when I did April Fool's jokes. Um, there we had a cupcake bakery here that they made these things called puppy cuppies. So at the time, our now diabetic dog, I got her one of those, and she did basically like a review. So if I scroll through, actually, this is a screenshot of what the page looked like at the time, which honestly, even that looked pretty damn good. I know it was part of a
Yeah,
default.
yeah.
um, but yeah, we you redesigned the logo. You even made the chef with the dog face with the chef.
Right. Yeah.
And that
Yeah, it
was
was one of
fun.
those things where we're just kind of shooting the shit one night, and I was like, all right. So I did an image where it's like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then I was like, maybe I could take it farther and just swap everything on that page.
That was a
Then,
good time. I think a lot of people love that.
yeah, I think so too.
And you were there the day that I did the. I'm gonna try to pull that up as well. You were when I did the graveyard challenge, if you recall that.
How could I forget? That is a memory I will never lose. Oh my, look at Darina's hair. Oof.
You got a little you throwing up the shocker there a little bit.
Yeah, I was an edgy kid. I was what, like 23, 24? I was edgy.
There you
I've lost
go.
my edge. I'm just a fat blob now. No edges left. Nothing
And
unique
you
comes
were
out of this
also
mouth
there
anymore.
at. This is a funny one. This is one I like. I was almost going to repost this today to promote the actual live. You know what it's going to be. Us dancing at my wedding.
Oh yeah.
Another
That night
good
was
one.
so much fun, man. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was a perfect culmination, and it was just a lot of fun to do all this stuff, and kind of having it now spiral into the YouTube. I'm trying to build in a lot of those same old assets and stuff like that, and old gags and things as the audience grows. I think you just mentioned that we have we went to Gus's last week. Well, that's actually a review that's going up Saturday, and I even edited the video, I posted it, and I asked Keith if he wanted to see it. He's like, "No, I'm just gonna wait." So that's one that you guys could look forward to. Gus's is a legendary place here in Watervliet, New York. It's in the capital region of New York. They specialize in these mini hot dogs, and it was a fun time that we did there. It was cold as hell,
Well, I
but
went back today. I got to tell you, it
did you?
was better
I
without
saw
the snow flurries.
I saw Will posted a picture, so I figured
Yeah, yeah.
that's
We met
funny.
up for lunch today. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that for a while there, you and Will, another friend of ours, was doing a podcast, and I was like religiously listening to that.
No,
What
you
was
were
it
one of
like?
like four listeners. And then when I would talk about how few listeners we had, I'd always catch guff from a couple of the people that were actually listening to it.
And that's one thing that like I try to like be careful online when I'm promoting
Yeah,
video
you don't
because
want to offend people, especially like you got such a small amount of like core support. You don't want to piss them off.
yeah, and
I
that's the
didn't
thing.
know that, so
It,
whatever.
you get kind of frustrated that nobody's listening, so you think that you build it into a shtick and it gets funny, but people legitimately take that like to heart.
Well, I would go and I'd check the listens, right? So I'm looking on iTunes. There's like 3 listens, and I know 2 of them are for me because one to make sure it worked, and then one is I went to bed just to have another player like playing it because I thought that would help somehow, which it doesn't. Because iTunes knows it's me on 2 different devices. They're not going to count it as a different listen, but I didn't know that. And then, 3 days go by, and it's like, oh, all right, the same 3 listens, and I know 2 of them are mine. Great. And then,
That's funny.
it takes time to edit, to come up with content, and it's just, you get to a point where at least I got to a point where it was like, all right, so we're putting all this effort into it. It's not growing. I mean, I'm still enjoying it, but what are our goals here? Are we actually going to commit to doing this weekly? Are we going to bump it out to a different time frame? And then it just becomes a logistical issue of how much you're putting into it and how much you're getting back out of it. And we still get together and have our podcast conversations, but we don't record it and put it online anymore.
I can't imagine like how to actually increase the reach on something like a podcast.
Especially just 2 guys just talking. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to that. You know, that's one of the hardest things, right? Is like we think we're funny. The people that like us think we're funny, but then like, how does somebody else think we're funny if they don't know who we are? Right. And then like they're just jumping into 20 years of shtick that we find hilarious that they don't have any clue of what's going on. And it's like, all right, this is just two guys that nobody care about at all.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing with the YouTube channel, though. It's like at the beginning, and this was kind of part of my growing pains. Is I I knew from the beginning my life wasn't exactly a really illustrious thing. So
Right.
I would make these videos, and it would be like a day in my life, and nothing happened, and there would be the food in there. So I basically just to niche down, pulled the food out of it, and just
Right.
made everything kind of more snappy.
And
And
we had this idea that we were going to do that too because one of the things that we bonded over was that Will and I liked a lot of TV and movies, and we would like talk about how like scene construction was going on, like lighting, effects, all that stuff, because it was interesting to us. And one of the shows that I kind of got him into was Frasier, because he liked Cheers and he never really watched Frasier. And Frasier's like one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't know. It was just like it hit me in the formative years, and like it just kind of stuck with me, you know. And we were gonna do a podcast where we were gonna watch every episode and do like commentary and like go into the script, and the people would call into the radio show because it was usually like a celebrity cameo. But like we started looking into it and we're like, all right, so if we're gonna do Frasier, we got to come up with a cute names. We're like, all right, they're calling again, like one of his catch lines. Well, there's already 5 podcasts called "They're Calling Again," or toss salad and scrambled eggs. You know, like the outro. So, oh yeah, there's another 15 called that with like 70 episodes already that have 15 listens. So
yep.
like even something that we're really passionate about, like you're not going to crack in at this point unless you have a really fresh, unique take, a unique style. You got to have something that makes people come into it and stick with it. And we kind of had a little bit of this conversation about like trimming videos down, you know, like nobody cares about your intro music, nobody cares about your outro. So like you have to have these hard conversations with yourself that can hurt your ego if you're not prepared for it.
Yep.
And I give you a lot of credit for sticking with it because I definitely didn't. I tapped out. I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
I mean, I have my days. They're like a few weeks ago, I posted something and it literally died within a day, and I was like,
Ugh.
I hate this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I figure I'm sticking with it. What I did, what I've been doing is, there's a lot of resources online, and that's kind of I getting into this. I had no idea how to edit video, from like the push button technical standpoint.
Right.
So now that I actually know how to like trim things and ripple deletes and things like that, now I could start to do more interesting things within the video. And I'm trying to get into a little bit more of the technical aspects of it, like how to retain people, like things like not staying on one particular screen for more than like 5 or 10 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
And the funny thing is that that's what it is. YouTube is just like, if you don't get them in 15 seconds, and if you don't keep them every 15, 30 seconds, they're gone, So
Yeah, Dom just made a great point too. There you go. It can, because if you have something that has a little juice to it, you're gonna overthink it, overanalyze. So what was different about this one that has a couple more views or a couple more hits? Why is this one keeping people watching for longer than all my other content? What should I do like this video? And then you start going down that rabbit hole, and then it doesn't work, right? So then you're back to square one because this algorithm is so hard to crack,
yeah, I mean, I could tell you my top 3 performing videos for the last 5 months have been a video I made a year ago, how to cook peas with butter, which is one of the more simple recipes I've ever done. How to do a Starbucks double shot, another really simple recipe. And then the latest one is how to cook kale, which is almost a mirror image of the peas one. It's just trimmed down a lot more. So those videos are basically driving all the traffic and all the subscriptions on my channel. And I go back and watch them because you can see graphs of like retention, and you can see the dips and things like that. And you can definitely see like I mean, you could see where things are happening, but I can't. Like that peas video has terrible audio, and like literally the next video I made after that, I upgraded my microphone. So like it's not a matter of the quality of the audio or the lighting in that video is very poor. It's just, people, it must have been a topic that people really hit on. I think topic is most of it.
It's funny because when I go to teach myself something, it can be something simple, right? Like how to change an icon somewhere. Like I can't remember how to do it, or I need help. Now instead of just getting like a paragraph on somebody's blog that just lists the steps, I get 15, 20-minute videos of a guy showing how to open the start menu, to open Photoshop, to open the tool. It's like, get me to the content, right? And this algorithm is there. So, like, somebody's clicked on the video before and they spent a lot of time in that video trying to get the info they wanted. So now that link is validated. So now when I come to it, somebody has already made that a better result for me, even though it's not a good result.
Yep.
So, like you're saying, this is your simplest recipe, right? So it's got like 2 ingredients, 3 ingredients, right?
Yep.
Bing, bang, boom. You don't got to take notes. You don't got to keep the video on while you're doing it to copy what's going on. You watch it for a few minutes. You're like, I can handle this. And you go give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I've amassed from it. It's funny because like pretty much any other video, all the videos that I did where, they're vlogs or like, like the mall vlogs, they were getting like sustained hits for a while, but now pretty much nothing from before 2020 gets any views. And I'm okay with that. But it's, because I was learning how to edit and how to do all that stuff. But it's just one of those things where it's like, now I'm trying to figure out the little nuances of like, okay, what recipes do I prepare? And, are people leaving comments? What do they want to see? And, how much do I worry about that versus like new people coming in,
Right.
who really haven't seen more than one video or something. Got a comment here from Leslie, a good friend, who said, don't do it for the numbers, do it because you enjoy it. And I agree with that. That there's part of the craft to it though, is, trying to learn how to get the reach without like sacrificing too much creative freedom. That's what I'm trying to balance right now.
And it's hard too because as much as you want to do it because you enjoy it, you still need some sort of validation, right? Because like our image of ourselves, I mean, not to get too psychological, right? It comes from inner views and outer views, right? So if we're doing it for us to enjoy, at some point we still have to have that validated externally by an objective source, right? Because if we're just staying within our own heads, then we could be wasting a lot of time or going down the wrong path. That's not going to lead to what our goals were. So, to an extent, yeah, you got to ignore the numbers, but at the other end, you have to. We're scientific in nature too, Jerry. You and
Yep.
I, right? So we need measurable data. We need statistics. We got to see empirical proof that we're kind of moving towards a marker and a milestone, right? So it's harder for us to ignore numbers.
Yeah, but the beauty, I think, what I really like about YouTube is that really, I have videos that get views that are just random, and you can also see who subscribes from a video specifically.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
so like something from a year and a half, 2 years ago will get a view and somebody thought it was good enough to subscribe to. So, and that's not exactly what the content I'm doing right now. So people are more into the personality. So you could see
Right.
there where like, that psychological aspect of it is, you know, it's not just the content, it's the personality, it's the packaging, it's all that type of stuff. And it's, to me, I like the unpredictability of that,
Okay.
because I'm the same person in all the videos.
Right.
Sometimes I ham it up more than others, but what is it about that aspect of the personality that keeps people coming back and wanting to hit that subscribe button because they realize that helps out the most, or I mean, does it? I don't know. But I
Well,
appreciate
one of the
anybody who
things
subscribes, anybody who watches videos. That's kind of the whole
I
thing.
mean, one of the reasons that you've been my friend for so long is your authenticity, right? Like I know you're a straight shooter, you're genuine, you're caring, you actually genuinely care about the people around you. Like it, you don't. I mean, unless it's for a shtick, you don't put up fronts or like act differently, So it's like that grabbed me, right? 20 years ago, well, almost 20 years ago, right? Coming up on it,
12
15,
years. Yeah.
12? Jeez,
Yeah.
I can't do math. I suck at math. Here I am, scientific guy. I can't do math. But yeah, I mean, you can tell too when you're watching a YouTube video because it is video. You pick up on body language, you pick up on facial expressions that you don't get with just audio. You can tell if somebody's fluffing it just to get content out there or not, or if they care about it. And for people like me with my mindset, like that matters to me, right? Like I'd rather see a P video with crappy audio that's just straight to the point, no frills, and does the right thing, you know. That's probably why it's one of your better sustaining videos, right?
Yeah. One other thing that really, really kind of cringes me out about that video is I had just learned how to put transitions in,
Uh-huh.
and
So
like
you
I
went a little
really
crazy.
overdid it in that video. So
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, I'd like if I were editing this now, like it first of all would be 5 minutes shorter, and second of all would have maybe one of those transitions and not
Well,
like
I was the same way when I was doing web design or graphic design. I'd figure out like a new technique, and then everything I did was that until I got something new, like a new toy to play with, you know?
yeah.
And then you go back and look at it and stuff from 6 months ago, you're like, oh man, what was that? And that's one of the things with like the iterative process on like social media is that it moves quick, right? Like daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, it could turn over of what's popular, what's not popular, what's trending, what's gonna sustain. So I mean, it looking back 5 6 months ago, you can't because you're gonna drive yourself crazy, right? Because it's nowhere near like you're better at what you're doing, you're better at the craft, you're better at writing your scripts, you're better at recording, you're better at editing. So like going back, you're gonna be like, oof, man, throw in the towel.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even like my screen presence, like I look at some of those videos and I'm like, I can kind of tell I'm reading off a script. Now I just try not to script anything at all. And
Yeah.
if I have to, I'll do bullets, but usually I'll go off the top of my head.
I've always done that, and I think it's always worked better for me. Like even back to high school when I had like presentations and stuff, like I would just do like a flashcard with bullet points and I would fill up whatever time I had. But if I had to write a script and rehearse and time it, by the time I got up there, I was dreadful because I was tired of saying the same thing over and over again. I was tired of like reading the same thing. So like I would still have to throw it out and kind of keep it fresh. And that's one of my neuroticisms, right? Like I can't tell the same story the same way twice. So like if I'm telling you something, when Darina asks me, I got to use different adjectives and like set the stage a little differently to keep it interesting to me. Because like I can't, like I'm not a guy who rewatches movies and like shows all the time, right? Like I watch it once and it sticks with me. I'm the same with my own stories, right? Like I'm a good storyteller, but it's because I keep it interesting to myself, so other people are engaged.
It's really funny that like you say that like that because I'm basically the exact opposite. So like all I do is rewatch movies and videos and stuff. And also like whenever I tell a story, like it's verbatim to the beat. Like like same words, same cadence, like everything and like almost to the point where like people get annoyed because they're like you tell the story all the time. It never
Right,
changes.
right. See,
So
and that's it's one of my ways of like retaining information too. I've trained myself to paraphrase when I hear something. So like if you tell me the sky is blue because of the way the light comes into the atmosphere and refracts, I'll switch it around in my head to get to the same meaning, but it stays with me better because now I've learned it 2 ways and I've got a connection.
yeah. It's funny we got Dom here
A
criticizing me for
thief.
telling other people's stories because they're good stories and people just don't know how to tell the stories.
No, I get it. I mean, isn't that why Amy Schumer's in a lot of trouble? Because she is influenced by a lot of comedians. Do you know this? There's like a buzz in the comic realm
Is it
about
a
Amy
new buzz?
Schumer.
Because like, and Dom was here one time for WrestleMania. This is WrestleMania weekend coming up. He was here one time, and I just kept watching YouTube videos about how she stole other people's material.
Right, right. She
But
did,
this is like
but
4 or 5 years ago.
it still persists. It
Oh,
still persists. There's new stuff that comes out, so they make new videos and like compare clips, and like I don't think she's intentionally ripping off material. I think it like resonated, and she's trying to do it in her own voice, and it comes out the same way ish. And that's a cardinal sin in stand-up comedy. You can't do that. You can't tell somebody
yep,
else's joke.
yep. I mean, the thing is, I take the stories and like these are stories that people just don't want to own anymore, and then now they're mine.
It's probably because you took it and told it so many times. You're like, all right, we're beating a dead horse. We're done with it.
It's very possible, but you know what? I don't care. Now you said you wrote down some notes, so I wanted to give you a
Oh
chance
yeah. All
to
right,
go through that stuff.
yeah, you know what? We hit all of them. I had the keyworded blog post. That was the first thing I wrote it down because we had to talk about that because that was huge for us.
Yep.
The tweet ups, those were so fun. And then once we found our core group of people that meshed, that the time that we spent together going to like Flavor Cafe, which was like a little bistro thing, like uh, going out just to get food at some crappy place just to hang out. It was one of the best times of my life. Just hanging out, chit chatting, cracking jokes, doing shticks in public, and just getting people in on the joke, even if they didn't know they were a part of the joke. It's so good.
It's funny because so I when I did this YouTube channel, I never really wanted it to be the Dines, and I like even bringing back the derryX Dines brand
I
for
know.
that
Because
wasn't.
we had conversations about killing it off because
Yeah,
you were at a point where like I can't do it anymore.
and I don't really lean on it much other than like for titling and for like tags and Google search and just for the
Yeah.
playlist, just to tie it back to that back in the day. But the one thing that kind of really like kicked me in that direction was last year when we went to the Troy Night Out, like right before the coronavirus hit.
Yeah, it was the last time I went out in public for I don't know 4 or 5 months actually.
Yeah. So that night we had done a vlog, and what I'll do is after this video is over, I'll link to it in the description down below. But we had started out at a quesadilla restaurant, and then we kind of.
How is it every time we go someplace that scenario happens where it's like it's a one in a million experience that would never happen again, and it hasn't happened again. It never happened to somebody before it happened to us, and it's the most bizarre exchange with another human being that you can ever imagine.
What exactly are you referring to?
So at the quesadilla restaurant, we get into it. You say how you're shooting a vlog, and she goes to tell us about how she's changing all the food around because of bad Yelp reviews and how people are coming in and like bombing her site. Remember? So it's like you didn't even engage in that conversation, and it just took off.
Yep. But the other part of it was that there it was Troy Night Out, and they were doing like hot cocoa, and like we didn't see any of that for miles. Like
All these places stay open late, Troy Night Out, and they have like a
a
thing
theme.
that you do and go around and sample or similar products, and none of the places had hot cocoa, and it was like 10 degrees out. It was chilly. We could have gone for some. None of the places had any. None. No signs in the windows. Nothing.
That was a cool night though, because and it was also like right at that transition period where like um you and Will were there, and I kind of wanted to do it like highlighting some local stuff, and there was the Anabolic Baker, and we went to that 518 Prince Place, and he gave us the like humongous slice of cookie pizza. We thought we were going to get like a bite, and he gave us like an eighth of it.
Right. Well, I
um
mean, it was like the size of like a large pizza, man. It was huge.
yeah, and he wasn't cutting them small either. He was really
No.
dishing it out for us.
So
And
uh, this happens wherever we go.
yeah,
We get unique experiences, and it's because of us and how we. I carry myself like somebody who wants to talk to nobody, but people
me too.
talk to me ad nauseum. They
So
connected with me somehow. It's in my eyes, and I can't turn it off for something. I don't know.
that here's a funny story. I didn't tell you this. I meant to tell you this last week because it's one of those that like you and I are on the same page about this. So right now there's a big movement across America for people to be vaccinated for a disease that has swept the entire world. I don't know if you guys know this. It's been around for a while.
Right?
It's a hot
Yeah.
thing. And I went for my first. No, don't do it. Don't do it. You got to block the private information, man.
It's fine.
um, so I went for my first stabbing, and they make you wait 15 minutes after just to make sure that you don't have a reaction or whatever it is. So I'm sitting there, I got my headphones on, and somebody comes up to the chair in front of me, and it was distanced, but just enough that it is what it is, and you can still talk to people. He sat in it facing me, and it was a folding chair.
Same thing happened to me.
No. Hold on.
All right. You tell your story. Go for it.
So this guy comes up and he says, "What kind of phone is that?" I said, "It's a smartphone." And he goes, "I got an upgrade today." And I'm like, "Okay." He actually he proceeds to pull it out of his pocket. And what do you think? What do you think it was?
Like some Moto flip phone.
Yep.
Love it.
So this guy had a shtick and he tried to do it on me, and I just said, "Good for you." And then he kept staring at me, and I do this thing where, like, even walking down the hallway, like if I make eye contact with somebody, it's going to be eye contact until our heads are 90 degrees apart.
Right.
And he gets up and he's like, "You know what? I really don't like this seat." And he moved away. So there you go.
So I had my headphones in, noise canceling, mind you, because I don't want to hear anything. I sit down, I take my phone out, I start doing a crossword on my phone. So I'm not even looking up at people. I'm not people watching, nothing. Guy is just standing in my peripheral vision, like gesticulating like he's talking. And I'm like trying out of the corner of my eye to see if he's talking to somebody else or if he's talking to me. And he just keeps going on and on. So finally I reach up and you got to touch the headphone to get like the ambient sound. So I do it. And he's talking to me about baseball. There's nobody else around me. He stood there for at least 3 minutes talking about the Mets and the Yankees, and I didn't hear a single word of it. And he thought we were best friends. I come back 3 weeks later. He's got to point me out and be like, "Hey, man, baseball's back." And I'm like, "Sure is. Thanks, man. I remember you too."
And that's the funny thing is because afterwards, I never shut up about it with Cassie, and she's like, "You think that guy's going to be there at the same time as you?" I'm like, "Yeah, the appointment
is it's 3 weeks apart at the same time frame. So yeah, of course the same people are going to be there if they're responsible."
And then her next thing was, "Do you think he's really going to remember you as much as you remember him?" I'm like, "Maybe not," and he didn't.
That's a good point.
He was there, and he did not remember me, which I was very thankful for. So
that's one of my problems is my face, even though I'm older and fatter, has not changed since like 3rd grade. So people recognize me in a crowd and come up to me and know me and talk to me, and I have no friggin' idea who they are. So if you're ever with me and you hear me go, "Hey man, how's it going?" It's because I have no idea what your name is. I'm trying to be warm and kind and not rude. That's all there is to it.
The other funny thing is I'll always wear, like, if I wear a Yankee hat, I never like realize that like people are going to want to talk to you about that.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because even in YouTube videos, whenever I wear my Mets hat, I get people who just leave comments to say LGM, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Yeah. And it's not like I wear it for more like fashion, just to try to get colors and match and stuff like that. I don't really follow the sports. I am a New Yorker and I represent a New York team, but this like right here is like a Bulls hat. I'll wear whatever color I think is cool. Like, it's not like.
So the response to "Let's go" team name is, "Where are we going?" Every time.
That's
always
funny.
Gets a laugh. All right, so I got bullet points. I want your impressions on 3 topics that came to me while we were talking. Inbox zero.
Do people do it anymore?
I don't. Is it still a phenomenon? I get so many emails a day that I never even click on. If I was trying to get to inbox zero, I would never stop looking at my computer screen.
The funny thing is, like for work, I use my inbox as my to-do list. So whenever I get an email, if it's in my inbox, it means that I have something I have to respond to in it, or an action I have to take, and then once I do that, I have like folders where I put everything after. So like, I never want inbox zero. Like, that means I don't have a job.
That's a good take. I remember it was such a big thing in the early 2010s. People were tweeting just, quote, "inbox zero unquote,
Yep.
because they were so proud that they got through all their email.
Speaking of tweeting, there's a new phenomenon that I know you're not on Twitter anymore,
No, I'm not.
but there's a new account, and it gets retweeted every week. And it's the funniest thing. I told Dom about it last week. So you know that guy Daniel Craig that does the
Hmm.
James Bond thing?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a clip of him from SNL where he introduces the musical artist The Weeknd, and it's a video of him saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd." Every Friday, everybody retweets this same video. But the funny thing is, he's saying it like A, he doesn't know who The Weeknd is, B, he doesn't care who The Weeknd is, and
Right.
C, like almost like he's doing it for specifically the meme.
I mean, he was a stormtrooper, so maybe he does things just for doing them like that, you know.
Oh, maybe he did do that.
Uh,
All right, what's
I
your
mean,
next bullet
did you
point?
watch the new Star Wars movies?
Yeah, the one with the
So,
guy. Yeah, I watched
yeah,
that.
when she was locked up in the jail cell, the stormtrooper that she mind controlled to let her out was Daniel Craig,
Okay.
and he was Stormtrooper 007.
Oh, okay.
See, like, why do I have that in my head? I don't know, but it's
I
there.
heard that there were some cameo stormtroopers, but like, I honestly like even the original Star Wars movies. Like, I at this point, I'm just like, you know what? I I get a lot of crap on it because I said that in a live a few months back where I'm like, the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope, sucks.
It's terrible,
Yeah,
but it it hit me when I was like 6 years old, and I taped it and I watched it over and over and over again. So it became like a part of my identity. So like at 37, if I'm like, all right, I'm done with Star Wars, and like I just thrown away 30 years of my life, I can't do
yeah.
it.
So what?
But I mean, like, and that's the other thing too. So like, it can be the same. It can be both of those things. They're not mutually exclusive. You can still love it for what it was when you were a kid, and realize that it's not that good of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit on the other side of that, where like I've watched them so many times because they've re-released them, where I'm
Yeah,
just
I
like
know.
done. I don't care. Like honestly, I would much rather watch like episode 1 and 2, and even 3 than 4 or 6. I like 5 a lot. I
See,
will
what's
say.
funny is we are as far away from episodes 1, 2, and 3 as we were from 4, 5, and 6 growing up. So as 1, 2, and 3 came out, we were like, "What the hell is this crap? Like, this is nothing like what we watched." Well, those kids who saw those as they came out are at the point where that nostalgia fix is starting to come back, and they're bringing the prequels back as like legitimate contenders for the best movies ever created
Yeah.
because it hit them the same way that the original trilogy hit us 30 years ago. It's it's so funny how, and this kind of ties into something else I wanted to talk about. Did you watch any of the new Godzilla or King Kong movies? Are they your thing at all?
No, but I've never seen a King Kong movie. I've never seen a Godzilla movie, but that one on HBO Max, I need to watch it.
All right, so when I was younger and we first got Sci-Fi Channel, they would play like anime and old Godzilla movies on
I
like
remember.
Saturday morning.
Yep.
So I would watch them every week, and I watched all the Godzilla movies. So when I saw Kong versus Godzilla was coming out, I was like, oh, I got to get caught up because I haven't seen any of these new ones. Well, I start looking at it and I start thinking about it. Every other decade, there's a Kong origin movie. They update the graphics, they tweak the story a little bit, they change the angle, but it's still a Kong origin story. It happens every other decade. And it's all to protect copyright. It's a named, known property. They know it's going to do well in the box office. It's going to get eyes on it, and it refreshes their copyright for another 70 years after they put the movie out. So that's why there's no like quote unquote originality in movies, because they got to protect their IPs and they got to make money, right? So they keep going back to these things that are going to bring them money, refresh the licenses so they can make toys and shirts and all that other crap that goes along with it. And we're in that cycle now where the prequels are that moneymaker because it's the kids that have expendable income and want stuff from what they liked. And in 10 years, we're going to see the same thing again with this last three set of movies that nobody really liked, but the people who saw them in their formative years, that's Star Wars to them. So when we're 47, 48 years old, we're going to start seeing Rey and Kylo Ren everywhere. It's all cyclical.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
read
now I
this.
think with Disney Plus and the fact that they're like really trying to get a lot of content out, like I think that there's an Obi-Wan story that's going to be
There is.
like a predecessor almost to like the
And part of it is fueled by people that are like, oh, I love that Obi-Wan, not the old man Obi-Wan that dies in 5 minutes. We want the cool Obi-Wan. So like they're like, hey, we got some juice behind the property. Let's put something together. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to cost them as much money as they're going to make on it. Even if it's not critically acclaimed, it's still going to make them money by people subscribing just to watch it.
oh yeah, and they can make the toys and all that other stuff.
So I read this really fascinating article on the clothing industry. And I know you're into hot drip and stuff. The reason that clothing changes so fast is because it has the opposite problem of like the movies, right? So like movies come out once a year, they have like timed releases, but clothing lasts longer than a movie, right? Because you buy a shirt, you could wear that shirt 10 years. So how do they get you to spend money on a new t-shirt that you don't need to replace? They got to change the style. What's fresh has to update. So it rolls over all the time. Well, it happens so fast that every 6 to 10 years, the stuff from 6 to 10 years that was only popular for 10 months is back again because people still have it. They want to bring it back out and rock it again.
I mean, that's like my whole closet is that.
Your NWO shirts every decade that come back.
Well, I mean, that's just WWE definitely trying to hang on to that intellectual property and just making money off it because people will buy
For
it.
sure. For sure.
You
And
know?
it's funny because you introduced me to the Spectre Creative channel where he goes into like the backgrounds of like He-Man toys and stuff. It's opened my eyes to that type of like branding and minute control over things everywhere. It's everywhere and everything. In cars. I mean, a car, if you take care of it, could last 30 years. Well, no, because your car looks old because in the 2 years that you've owned it, they've made it look better.
Yep.
Mildly performs better gas wise. Well, oh wow, I really need to do that for fuel economy. I care about the environment, so let me go spend another 30 grand on a car I don't need. It's
Yep.
insane how well advertising and marketing and that fear of missing out gets into people's heads.
I mean, I fall for it with anything. I see a commercial for something, I'm like, yeah, I got to have it, and I obsess over it. Like that's just how I am.
So, so the name recognition, right? So, like they put these ads on TV. So when you go in the store, you're like, "Oh, I've heard about this." Well, yeah, because you see a commercial every 30 seconds, so of course you've heard of it. But it's got the name recognition, so you're going to go for it.
Yeah, but you notice now that every commercial break for anything you see, it's one streaming service or another. I'm kind of tired of seeing advertisements for
So,
streaming.
you know what's amazing? I haven't watched live TV with commercials in like 5 years. So when people are like, "Hey, did you see that commercial?" I'm like, "No, I really did it." So it's to the point where I got to go to YouTube to look up for a commercial to watch it, so I can like be socially relevant with like my father, because he saw this awesome Geico commercial that he thinks is funny.
I like that comment. I don't know anything about cars, so I just like to buy a new car every like few years. I got to get a new car, but my first car was a 1992. It's really funny that you have one that's that old.
All right, so I got to circle back. You did the graveyard challenge. That day, you were not the only person in the building doing the graveyard challenge. One of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life was this little kid. I call him a little kid. He was like 16, 17 years old. He's on the local wrestling team because he had his little varsity jacket. And his father was like shaming him into going and pushing harder through the food. And this kid could physically not handle another bite. And the father looked at him and goes, "Are you going to be a disappointment or are you going to finish this?" He took one more bite, projectile vomit, because he was so full it had to come back out. And then he just spent the next 10 minutes curled over this gigantic garbage can with dry heaves. And it was the funniest thing because the father is still standing there going like this, like, my son let me down. He is a disappointment, and I'm a failure as a father because my son couldn't eat this burger, and now I got to pay $25 for this food because I thought my son was a big man and could handle it.
Yeah, but you remember, like, even that day, like, just looking at that kid, like the whole packaging, like you knew that he had a dad that was like that.
Oh, I know. Because he came in and he's like, he's doing like the beating his chest. He's getting himself all amped up like he's going into like a gang fight. He's trying to get himself riled up. And you knew 3 minutes in, he had no shot.
Yeah.
No shot at all.
I mean, the thing is, like, unless you do competitive challenges like that, like you don't have a shot. And
Right.
I knew that going in, like I did it for fun.
It was a fun story. And like I said, the memory of that kid and his father have stuck with me. Like it was one of the best experiences ever. It was hilarious to me. And like I know with a kid now that I will never be that father because I saw this kid being pushed by his father and I'm like, nope, not going to do that.
For, like, not only that, like it's irresponsible because not only are you pushing this kid, they're doing something that's probably the most unhealthy thing you could do.
Right.
And like
Right.
for what? For nothing. Like they're like there's like
Yeah.
you're totally ruining your relationship with your child because of the fact that you want him to finish a burger. Okay, I'd like
You know, I like the narrative that I came up with is he just lost a big match. And this was the way that his father was trying to find like redemption in his son. Like, you can do something good. So we're going to go here, we're going to eat this food, and you're going to prove to me that you're not just a loser. And it didn't work out.
yeah. It didn't work out for any of us that day.
I mean, it worked out for me. I was very entertained.
Well, there you go. That and the funny thing is, I still can't believe the amount of people that came out for that. Like it was like the
Well,
whole
I know.
town.
I know. I like to make the joke that it was the whole town, but I think it actually was. Because we're on the one main street in this like little outskirt area. So I think everybody came out for like the big thing.
Yeah. Let's see this comment here. I think you'd put out your own eyes before you treated. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not that kind of father, definitely. But
All right. And then the last thing I got that we got to talk about. Or no, there's two. There's two.
okay.
Is there controversy with the Boston Shake at Snowman? Like with
Controversy.
it not living up to the hype?
Actually, so you know what? I I've been really in the mood for the Boston Shake at Snowman. And I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to. So maybe you need to walk me
All
back.
right. All right. So one of the derryX meetups, it might have been the day that we did all the hot dog joints. We came up with the shtick that the Boston Shake was the best beverage ever created by man. And that even though we were full, we still had to go there. And honestly, I think it was because we were trying to splinter the group again and get away from some people that had lagged on a little too long. And we're like, okay, it's getting a little long in the teeth. We kind of want to go off and do our own thing. They went and got a Boston Shake and critiqued it the entire time they drank it. There's no way this is worth $6. Is this even handmade ice cream? What kind of milk is in this? How can they charge for this? You guys think this is the best milkshake in town? I can get a better one at Stewart's. It it made my day that this person was so miserable over a shtick that I put out there into the world.
You know what? I'm going to try to pull up. Talk about it a little bit more because I'm going to try to pull up the post about it.
All right, so the Boston Shake is a large drink, right? Usually a milkshake is 2 scoops of ice cream with like a third of a cup of milk and they just blend it together. Well, this shake at Snowman comes in like a 32-ounce cup. It's got like 5 scoops of ice cream. It's all mixed together, make it really thick. And then they put another scoop of ice cream on top of it with like the fudge in there. It's a thing to behold. It's not the best milkshake in the world. I think it's a little overpriced for what it is. I was trying to make somebody leave the group, and instead it turned into them hanging out longer.
So maybe it wasn't maybe it wasn't the day of that, but I definitely remember because it's really funny because Rory, who was in the chat earlier, I don't know if he's still there, but
He was talking about his candy airplanes, and I was doing my best not to bring it up.
um, but the funny thing is he had a Boston shake, I think the day you're talking about, and I tweeted that picture to Andrew WK, and he retweeted it and was like, "This is awesome."
Party hard. I
Yeah.
remember that. Didn't you get like signed swag out of that exchange too?
No, that was the swag was earlier. That I might do a whole live about that particular swag.
Oh, I remember because you were talking about his Fox News appearance, right?
Oh, I mean, there's so much Andrew WK history. There's so much. um, so the Boston shake. Let me get back to your point.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I didn't know anything about this Boston shake. So like to give people more of a visual of it, like I don't have it. I gotta dig through pictures. It's gonna be a review, and I even mentioned it in the Gus's review this weekend. It's basically a milkshake with a sundae on top of it. Like that's basically what it's supposed to be. Like there's actually like scoops of ice cream and hot fudge and whipped cream like sitting on top of the ice cream that's there. So like as far as the price, yeah, maybe it's a little overpriced, but the thing about Snowman is, their ice cream is homemade. That's number one. When you get the homemade stuff and not the soft serve stuff, which I
So,
still don't understand why local people here were doing like soft serve tours. Like, okay,
you
like
know, I got to interject because while you were talking, I thought I'd Google for a picture of it, right? And I put in Snowman Boston Shake. The first link was a link to your review of the Boston Shake.
oh yeah, you can, yeah, let me, there you go.
So, I mean, look at the size of this cup compared to a normal 2 scoop cone. It's gigantic.
But that's like $8 or $9 though.
I know.
Yep.
So, I mean, can you imagine hyping this up for somebody who does nothing but complain about the shake the entire time? I don't even think they finished it. They threw it out. They said it was wasted money, and they left. So my
I can't
goal of
remember
getting them away from us worked.
I wish I could.
See, and that's the problem too. Is sometimes I do these shticks that nobody else is aware of. So I'm playing this game, and I got this gag going, and I'm the only one in on it, and it entertains me to no end. But then nobody else has a strong memory of it because they weren't in on the joke while it was happening.
We got Cassie in the house.
Oh, look at that.
The key thing that happened after our housewarming. That was Sweet Frog. But Keith wasn't there for that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know the Boston Shake thing. I don't know when that was. But yeah, I do recall it. I don't think that it is overrated at all. Maybe it's a little bit on the pricey side, but it's an experience. But I did find out that actually other places make the Boston Shake, so it's not something that they invented.
Really? I thought that was like their thing.
No, there's like other places make Boston Shake, so maybe they've copied it off of them.
Wow.
But it's definitely a whole thing.
All right, and then the last thing we got to talk about are these candy airplanes. I can't let it go. Talking about something that was hyped up and then was a major disappointment at the unveiling.
It was funny because I think that whole thing like lived in its own like bubble. I remember like we did our whole thing at a certain section of the Ruck, and if you're not aware of what's going on here, let me back it up a little bit. Yeah. I used to do these 1 year of derryX, 2 year of derryX. I think for the third or fourth year, we went to this place called the Ruck, and I always would make these fun. It was packs.
Like a 5-star chef in a bar making amazing food, right? So we're like, oh, we got to go get waffles and chicken wings.
Yep. And I would always bring like, gift bags for people. And it always had like junky stuff, like stuff I would get at Five Below or the dollar store. But it was a memory. And I would always give like a commemorative pin or something like that. It was always fun. 1 year I actually put a QR code on the back of my shirt that took you to
The
like a
hidden
bonus blog
yeah.
post, which
Yeah.
we set up. That was another fun thing that we did. But the my friend Rory was like, part of the parting gift has to be these candy airplanes, and I think he sat there and like put them together like at his own table for
But you're
as long as
forgetting
we were
that.
there.
I mean, this went back like 2 years of derryX anniversary meetups, though, because Rory thought that everybody knew what a candy airplane was, and that we were just ragging on him or trying to like get one over on him, but we had never heard of him before, and he thought that every kid that had ever lived in America knew what a candy airplane was. So then we go to the ruck, and he's got all the materials. So the candy airplane is uh, a sleeve of Smarties with a stick of like double mint gum, rubber banded through lifesavers to create the wheels of the biplane. And it's supposed to look like a plane with like the stick of gum over the Smarties with the lifesavers being the wheels. He could not get them to look like an airplane. It just looked like a crumbled mess of candy from a five and dime store in the 1920s. And he thought we were just trying to make fun of him, but it was objectively bad. Objectively bad.
The one thing I'll say though, I do kind of agree with him. You definitely should get a candy airplane with your vaccine, because like you have to. This is an experience, but both of those things are an experience that you really should partake in.
At least
That's
once, yeah.
as political as I'm going to get here. We got Roz still has the pins. I still have a bag of pins here that I gotta figure out what to do with it. Kind of a lot of fun times. So I think this is a good place that we can cut it off. I think we'll have to revisit this and come back on again.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. But the one thing I will say before I let you go, we have this review of Gus's coming up, and you got Keith actually on camera doing a review of it for a good portion of it. So
my debut reviewing food with my unpolished palate and my no vocabulary to describe food textures and ingredients. I have no idea what's going on.
no, it came out good.
I fluff it and we get through it.
The really funny thing about it was that not only like we were both shivering through the entire thing. It was like 25 degrees.
I know. You know what happened is we got fooled because in upstate New York, we always have this 1 week of beautiful springtime weather, and then it goes back to winter for another 2 weeks. And during that 1 week of amazing weather, we're like, all right, we'll get together. And then by the time it came around, it was still back in the throes of winter with snow flurries and brutal wind and rain, and it was just not good.
But the funny, I'm going to tell you about part of an inside joke that's in the video right now that what I want to do is actually pull it up on the screen here real quickly.
Is this going to be my outro music?
No music. Not at all. So this is the thumbnail for Saturday's video where we go to Gus's. And nice, notice the text on the thumbnail is not
chilly.
Here's the funny thing. First of all, it was really chilly that day.
I get it. Yeah, the double entendre.
But also, one of the points I make about the meat sauce at Gus's is that it's not chili, but then both you and I proceed to actually call it chili for the rest of the review.
I know. You know, that was one of those things. You were like, oh man, you were pretty good on camera there. And I was like, no, I just called it chili. Even though we had agreed that it's not chili, I ruined it.
It's funny that you didn't, like I did more than you did. And like, even when I was editing it, I'm like, darn it. I'm like, there's no way to get around this other than let's make it a part of the joke.
If you call it meat sauce, which is what they call it, like, what does that mean? Nobody knows what meat sauce is, but like chili gives you an idea of like the color, the texture a little bit. So like it kind of helps it along. So you got to call it chili, right?
Yeah. But like to me, I think chili, I think of like a 7-Eleven hot dog, you know?
Like I was thinking like Coney Island or like Nathan's with like the slimy, like the yellow molten cheese with like the gross runny chili that like falls off the edge of the bun.
I every time I've eaten at Nathan's, I've never had chili. Do they have chili?
Yeah, that's one of their things, man. Chili cheese dogs. That's what they're known for at Nathan's.
Oh,
And they got the
interesting.
crinkle cut fries that they put the chili and the cheese sauce on.
Very interesting. Yeah, honestly, like I was born right near the original Nathan's in
Yeah.
Brooklyn, and I never actually even went there. But the only experience I have with Nathan's, other than like a food court, is like the Saratoga race course.
Yeah, because there's one in the Colony Center food court for a very long time. That's basically the only place I ever ate it. But yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, it's not good food.
No, but it's hot dogs. Like
Well, I know.
it's funny because you also said that like it for the longest time you didn't have chicken meat, like real chicken, and now
Right.
you're like a big snob about Nathan's hot dogs.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember too. I grew up in Troy, so Hembolds were like natural casing, like handmade, like well, not handmade. It's a factory, but it's local. So like the bar for like hot dogs was set pretty high for me from like a very early age.
That's true. Those
As
are good.
high as a bar for hot dog can be set.
Now the that Hembolt's is that what Gus's actually uses?
I believe so. Yeah, I think all three of the big hot dog places, and you can actually extend it too, because there's other spots that use it, like Ted's. If you go to Ted's to get hot dogs for some reason, because you don't want fish, but you go to a fish place, you'll wind up with Hembolds on Freihofer rolls.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
so we
yeah,
got
it's one of
plenty
like the
coming with
big
this hot
locally
dog
sourced
stuff.
ingredients.
We're,
Yeah,
we're gonna go to all these hot dog places. Like I mentioned that in there. The next one we'll do is Hot Dog Charlie's, which I have
that's
a
my
lot of history
jam,
with.
man. That's still my favorite. Still my favorite out of the three.
Hot Dog Charlie's.
Yeah.
The one thing, you know what? I'm gonna keep you just another couple minutes because what I wanted to talk about was this tour business.
Okay.
And uh, part of what we did was we kind of latched onto a tour that was happening here in the area. I'm not going to talk specifics about who was doing it and stuff like that because it's not important at this point. 10 years later. But
But again, that was one of our shtick things
yeah,
that spun out into its own and became its own beast that we couldn't control anymore.
well, when we went, like they were handing out scorecards and stuff, and okay, that's kind of a fun thing. But we were all in for like
Oh,
eating like a bunch of slobs that day.
for sure, man.
I I
Getting
I,
whole orders.
I just went and ordered 10 at every place.
Well, for people not familiar with it, like they're mini hot dogs. So like two mini hot dogs are like basically equivalent of a normal size like bun length hot dog.
But I
So
disagree with you though because the buns are actually like
oh
puffier.
yeah, that's true because they're thick. They're substantive buns. That's
Yeah,
true.
I would say
That's
that
true.
like three of the mini hot dogs makes up one like full size hot dog,
And the bun
and
is like two or three dogs. Yeah.
at least yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I can see that.
But the funny thing was like we totally like made our own thing. Like we were like, okay, you got to get the grape soda at every place, and it was more fun than just trying to like evaluate which one made the better one because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you're comparing like the junkiest food on the planet. Like
Right.
the,
But that's why it's so important to do it though, because somebody's got to.
I think next time what we got to do though is um to like do a double feature kind of thing, and we'll do hot dog Charlie's and then do the fudge fancies because you and I have disagreed on that for a long time.
I know. Well, I mean, you can still get the vanilla bean by going to Cookie Factory. It's the same recipe. So we can still do the direct comparison if you want.
Yeah, well, the disagreement is that these fudge fancies are like these cookies that they make here. It's like a shortbread with like a fudge like frosting on top. And Keith seems to like the Bellinopoli version, which over the years have actually grown on me. I think probably because they've gotten a little bit better with the quality control, and the chocolate is tighter on them now.
You know what I'll
Um,
say? I'm a big peanut butter guy. The peanut butter fudge fancy from Bellinopoly, top notch.
oh, it's great.
Peanut butter cookie with the fudge, but then they also drizzle peanut butter through the fudge. You can't go wrong. So vicariously, the regular fudge fancy at Bellinopoly is just automatically better because I've also experienced the peanut butter fudge fancy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And and growing up in Troy, it was always a contest between the vanilla bean, and Bellinopoly. And honestly, a lot of days we decide where we bought our baked goods was who had the longer line. So if we're driving past Vanilla Bean and the line's out the door, we're going to go down the street longer and go to Bellinopoly on the other side of Hoosick Street. You know, so like I can't really say one's better than the other. It was just what we had the patience to stand in line for, really.
Well, my whole issue with it is when the few times I had Bellinopolis, because if I go to Bellinopoli, that's not what I'm going to order. I'm going to get something like a cannoli or
Oh, their
cake or
cannolis
something,
are awesome. I love their cannolis.
you know. But I would eat that cookie, and like the chocolate was so like runny that like I would land on my shoe.
See, but I like that better because the vanilla bean is crumbly. You bite into it, it crumbles, and it makes a mess.
It's true. So we got a lot of topics that we could talk about
I
here.
don't know.
We could even like mail drop and like do the tasting here live or something. There's a lot of ways we
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to thank you for coming on. And we've gone quite a
course,
while
man.
here. We will have you on again, obviously. Maybe next time we'll do action figures.
All right. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. I can do that for an hour and a half too. See, but this is the problem. You got to cut me off. You have to limit me, or I'm going to take over and just ramble. And then we're going to be here, and people are going to be falling asleep on us.
We got people in the chat that they're not going to fall asleep if they're here for this long. They want to be here, and that's what I want in these live videos. You know, we got Mr. Van Dominic clapping at us. You see that?
I see that. A standing ovation. Look at that.
So, anyway, sir,
right,
I will
man.
let you go.
Peace.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Later, man.
So that was Keith, MetalFrog. Obviously, we got a lot of history. We got a lot of stuff we could talk about. So thanks a lot for joining tonight. Definitely look out for that Gus's review Saturday. It is probably the best 7 minutes you're going to watch the entire weekend. It's really great. Thanks a lot. I'll put some links up on the screen if you're catching in the replay and you made it this far. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me to have you here. Leave a comment and say hi, and I will respond back. Thanks a lot, and we will talk to you next week, Thursday, same time.